Hey crafty friends, this is Denise with PaperKraftD. Welcome to my 100-day project video series where I finish one quick paper crafting project every day for 100 days. I'm hoping these videos will inspire you to develop your own daily habit to practice your craft. Even if you only have 15 to 20 minutes, these videos are perfect for you. So if you're looking for ideas, inspiration, and motivation, I hope you join in and maybe even craft along with me. So let's get paper crafting. Today we're going to use some of the watercolor swatch papers that we made in yesterday's video to decorate the front and back cover of a swatch book for my watercolor set. I really want to use the watercolors more, and this will allow me to be able to tell what the actual color is. So these ledger pages are actually digital printables from Rach and Bella's newest kit, Billet Doux. And I will leave a link for that kit in the description box below. But I just printed these out using my EcoTank printer and printed them off on HP 32-pound regular printer paper. It's really nice and smooth, and I thought it did a really great job of handling the water from the watercolor set. So I'm really happy with them, and I think they'll make a wonderful, beautiful cover. And I used this Elizabeth Craft Design die number 2226, Planner Cards 4, to cut the pages for this swatch book. And I'm just using this very inexpensive watercolor paper from Five Below because I'm going to be swatching watercolors. Now, if you don't have this die, that's not a deal breaker. Just cut the watercolor paper into 4x4 squares. Go ahead and punch 2 or 3 holes on one of the sides, and then use that as a template to create other pages. And in this case, you'd want to put a tab on each page as well. If you have the die, that certainly makes it easier and faster, but it's not a deal breaker if you don't have it. So my intention with this little booklet is to swatch some of my watercolor inks. And I have this kit of 36 inks, as well as a couple other, watercolor palettes that are, not quite as nice, but, various things in my stash, as well as some watercolor pencils. And I've never swatched any of them before. So, I want to be able to go ahead and swatch all of these in this little book. That's kind of my intention for this. And this is going to be a ring bound journal. You can see I have 3 different size rings in there right now. That's just for demonstration purposes. This swatch book will have 3 of the same size rings when it's finished. I'm going to divide them up by color. So I'm going to do red, I'll label these red, orange, yellow, blue, green, violet, and then I'm going to do some neutrals, and I'm going to do metallics because I do have some metallic colors as well. All right, so that's the idea behind it. Then I'm going to use those as dividers for these various pages. And the nice thing with these little rings is that if I have more of, say, reds, or blues, then I can make that section larger. And I can also keep adding to the book if I need to, and change out the ring size if I end up adding a lot more pages to it. So that's what I like about this, and that's why I'm using some watercolor paper. Now, for your purposes, for whatever you're going to use this for, you could swatch out your distress inks, your distress oxides, your colored pens. This could be used for a lot of different things. So that's going to dictate what kind of, paper that you want to use in here. This is, not super thick, but fairly thick and solid watercolor paper. But again, you use whatever paper makes sense for whatever it is you're swatching, or if you're making a journal, you can, add lots of different pages from, the kit and make it that way. Doesn't have to be a swatch book at all. It can just be a regular journal, but just bound in this, different way. Okay, so I'm going to take some of the offcuts from cutting these, and you can see I have a whole bunch here, and I am going to watercolor these with some various watercolors. I'm not going to try to mix colors too much. I'm just going to try to do a wash of individual colors. And then when that's dry, I'm going to take these little hole reinforcers and just dye the, just cut the dyes out of those. So for this, I'm using some watercolors. This is a set of Kuretake watercolors that are really, really nice. It's the 36 color set. I'll leave a link in the description box below for the Amazon link. And instead of the round brush that I used in making these papers, this is the Liquitex 12 Natural Round 1107. I'm using just like a flat wash brush. I don't, if I can find a link to this, I'll put it on in the link below to either one of these. But I probably just got this on sale at Michael's or something. I don't know. I don't know where I got this. I don't pay full price for things. Just when they are on sale, I buy them. To hold my little jar of water down, I'm using one of these glue pads. This one's been used before. You can see it needs to be washed off. They're normally clear. And if you've watched my videos before, you've probably seen me use these. I love these little things. They're so handy for a variety of things, both in the craft room and outside of the craft room. I think they're meant to like hold, like you're on your dashboard, like your phone in your car to the dashboard. But they can be used for all sorts of different things. I actually bought them for my daughter's college dorm room. She needed something to hold her like surge protectors and fan and various items that, you know, were a little fiddly on the top bunk of her dorm room bed. So I got these for her, and then I just started using them in the craft room, and I'm like, these are amazing. I actually use it also to hold like surge protectors and stuff like on my bed, like the frame of my bed or on my dresser, so that they don't fall off, you know, when I'm pulling cords and stuff like that. So they're just super handy. Anyway, so I'm using one of those under here so that, you know, the open thing of water won't fall over. I'm also using a Tim Holtz, you know, one of those kind of mats so that it's like, you know, it doesn't slip on my surface. And when I put the paper on here, the paper doesn't slip. And I'm just using an old encyclopedia to get rid of the extra ink. And these kind of make nice bases for other things too, because you have some interesting colors sometimes. So I use this both for my, when I do watercolors, any kind of painting really where I have a lot of excess, and also for like my jelly printing. You know, I roll the brayer off on here. All right, so that's, you know, kind of my workspace. All right, so I'm just gonna take a piece of paper, probably do it more on this side that's, I'm getting some weird things in there, I don't know. This side that's a little bumpier. And I'm just gonna, you know, add some color. So let's see, I think I'll start up here, and I'm not gonna mix these. I'm just going to, you know, add some color across here, just like that. I'll let that dry. Okay. color. Oh, that's really pretty. Love that dark yellow. Okay, so you can see I have a whole slew of these. I'm going to clean these up a little bit, just kind of cut the portion that I know I'll use on here. When I was painting these, it was easier to leave this edge on because I could lift this up by this and then not get paint all over my fingers. So that actually worked pretty well for me. But now when I'm going to die cut them, you know, it's just going to be kind of in the way. So, okay, so I'm going to use these. Let's see, and these are from the Reinforcement Variety Pack 1736. And I'm just lining up those strips with the dies and running it through my Empress die cut machine. Lose them, and you can see this is gonna, like this one will work really well, I think, on here. We'll cover up that hole, or the, you know, the edge here. Okay, so I cut a whole bunch of these, you know, hole reinforcers, and I'm going to go through these and clean them up and put them in my little container. But the other thing that I wanted to do is I have these kind of solid color, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. And then I got a brown one and a gold one. But I want to cut some alphas from this. So I'm cutting these little tiny letters because I want to be able to put those on the tabs to label them, right? Front and back. Again, this is another Elizabeth Craft Design die. And again, you know, you can use a label maker, you can use other dies that you have. You don't have to use this one, but this is just what I happen to have, so I'm going to use that. Okay, and then I've got all these little alphas. All right, so I've got this cool piece here, and then I have all these, you know, I'll have all these little alphas. In fact, I'm not even going to use that. I'm going to use this thing. So you see I get all these cute little alphas to use in red. I'm just going to pop all these out of here. And again, I could use this for something else. I love just this negative space. So some of these, in order to get the words twice, because I want to label the front and the back of each tab, I might have to cut this more than once. But for the red, that should be sufficient. All right, I'm just going to continue doing that, and I'll be back. So I'm labeling each of the cards for the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. I already added the green hole reinforcers to the either side, and now I'm adding the letters. And to get the words centered on the tab and the lettering pretty much even, I took some of this tape. This is low tack tape. I think I got this at scrapbook.com, and I made it exactly the same length as, or width as, the tab. And then I found the center point of that just using my, you know, my ruler right here. Yeah. So, and then I used this piece of craft tape and again marked the width of the tab and the center point, and then I'm just going through and I'm finding the letters that I need in the right color. Okay. And then I'm finding the center point, so that's going to be the center of one of these E's. So I just kind of line that up, and I'm using this Tim Holtz kind of sticky matte thing. It's not like a super sticky matte, but it just has a little bit of tack to it, so these letters don't move quite so easily. And I'm lining them up, you know, centering this one, and then just lining each of these letters up along this line here, and trying to space them fairly evenly. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And then I take this piece of tape and I line this center point up with this center point. And I only get like half of the letters. Oopsie, okay, I moved it accidentally. Let's fix that. There we go. Okay, then I lift that up like that. Apply some glue to the back of each of the letters. You know, I'm trying to apply it evenly, but not too thickly. So I'm just using a real fine line of glue here. And then make sure I'm using the green one. And then I just take and I line this up, you know, so that these edges are on either side. And, you know, I marked the center of this, but I haven't even been really using that. It's not necessary as long as I have this the correct width. You can see I have it off slightly, so I can move it over a little bit. There we go. And then just lift that off. And I do have a second to kind of adjust things if I need to. Okay, and then I just burnish that down. And because I did mark the center point, I have to erase that then with my little eraser. But then you get this, you know, little label on each of these. So yeah, and then I'm gonna do that now for the blue, for all the colors, right? So I couldn't decide what I wanted to use for my front and back cover. So I am just cutting a number of the watercolor swatch pages that we made yesterday and using that matte die. So this is a different die than the die that I made with the pages. This has a border around the edges, so it's just decorative and it looks really, really pretty. And as you can see, I'm just cutting a whole slew of these out in different orientations, and you know, I kind of play around with a little bit, figuring out what I want to use for the front and back covers. And then I'm inking up the mats, the edges of the mats, before I adhere them to the watercolor paper. And I'm just using some glue stick all over the mat, and then adding a little bit of art glitter glue just around the edges, but you know, not too close to the edge. Burnishing those down, and then I put them underneath some books overnight to dry, so they'd lie nice and flat. Okay, so I did a bunch of different covers. I did this one that has like a front and a back cover. You can see I didn't add the hole reinforcers on this side. I can add them later if I want, or I can just leave it as is, or maybe just add a little washi tape there. And this, I can also use this one. I really like this. Of course, this would have to be a back cover unless I use this as the front, and that is the inside. I left a couple of them on the interior without a mat, just in case I decide that I want to go that route. So yeah, so I'm gonna have to decide what it is I want to do. But these are the covers that I came up with. And you can see I have a whole slew of inner pages that have the hole reinforcers on them, so that can be used. And you know, adding the hole reinforcers does add quite a bit of bulk. So if you decide that you don't want to add hole reinforcers and just use the rings, that's an option. Or if you want to add them to just one side, that's another option. Or you can even use hole reinforcers from like some thinner paper, or even just some washi tape over just the bottom portion of it. So that's another option to kind of cut down on some of the bulk. But you can see this goes from like 1/2 inch to, oops, like 1 3/4 inch over here. That these hole reinforcers definitely add a lot of bulk when you do them in the watercolor paper. So just, you know, something to kind of think about. All right, so this is what I've ended up with. I was also thinking that it would be really fun to stamp like one of these stamps on the front. I really like this one, but I really like this red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. So just to add a little bit more interest in this. Okay. What do you think about that? Like if I put that like right about there, that might look kind of cool. All right, so I'm gonna put that like right about there, there. And I'm just gonna use some Versatile Fine Clair in black. And then I can, actually I do want to put some powder over the top here. Make sure it looks all nice and even-ish. Good enough. Okay, yeah, that looks pretty good. All right, and then I want to add just a little shine and dimension to that. So I'm just going to add a little bit of clear embossing powder over the top. Okay, that looks pretty cool. So you can see just a little tiny bit of sheen in there. I think that looks super cute. And I've got, you know, it's just kind of a little swatch book. And I thought this neutral looked better with this front cover, so I started with that instead of red. So I've got neutral, and I've got, you know, it on each page. Orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, metallic, and so forth. I decided against using any of these pages without the tabs in here. I'm gonna go ahead and just swatch my 36, the Kuretake watercolors, and then I can make separate ones for my other, like my watercolor pencils and things like that. I think that might be more useful for me. I don't know, I can decide, but there's only 36 colors. I think this will be sufficient, but if it isn't, then I can add in, you know, a page for where I need it, because these are ring bound, so it's easy to kind of, you know, expand it if I need to. So that is today's make. Just a fun little watercolor swatch book. Cute, huh? I hope you enjoyed today's video and that you found some ideas and inspiration to develop your own daily habit and to practice your craft. That is, after all, what the 100-Day Project is all about, that we inspire each other, that we build community, and that we just really get motivated to express ourselves creatively. If you enjoyed today's video, please give this a thumbs up, leave me a comment. I really would love to hear what you're doing and what your plans are for the 100-Day Project, or if you're just enjoying watching everybody's videos, that's okay too. And if you haven't yet subscribed and you enjoy this kind of content, I hope that you do so and that you share my channel with your friends. I will continue posting videos for this 100-Day Project if I get community involvement and people seem to be enjoying these videos. I will continue to do the 100-Day Project regardless, but I just might not post it on social media as frequently if I don't get that kind of involvement and engagement. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Again, this is Denise with PaperKraftD, and craft on.